It's a unique pick that has become fairly popular. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are into picks and bans. It is, of course, Lyon Gaming on the blue side taking on paiN Gaming over on the right-hand side. And yet another Shen ban. We've seen, I think, more Shens banned in the Wildcard tournament than we do in a regular LCS weekend.
Shen banned and Twitch banned, so the whole submarine is gone. It's out of the question here. Now, if we are going to look for some interesting flavor picks here from Lyon, as I like to call them, I would definitely love to see the Tryndamere from Hacker V2. That's what he's been known for on the North American servers. He's been the top of Diamond 1 with that jungle Tryndamere, and nobody else quite plays it like him. A lot of it has to do with taking a lot of lane farm, but that's just all about good rotation.
Well, we'll have to see if it works out. I would love to see a jungle Tryndamere, as we do see the rest of the bans being wrapped up. Job in the 4th, as well as Zac, Ezreal, and Thresh being removed. Nothing super exciting or super unique about that. However, that Ezreal, I think, slightly more targeted towards Fury, who played him in that double AD comp very, very early in the day.
Yeah, taking out the option of a double AD comp very early here, because, like I said, Ezreal is the AD carry that you put mid. It's not a flexible composition, a double AD. You pretty much need to use Ezreal in that mid. Not a lot of other ADs are going to work as that secondary tower pushing option.
And we do see once again Vi being locked in. We know that outside of Aranea playing Vi, she's not a jungler we do see very frequently or very often.
So that goes back to reinforce my point about paiN practicing against all these EU LCS teams for the last week straight. I'm pretty sure that Vi was heavily influenced by a lot of those EU teams, because you're right, RNA definitely loves that champion. And he's showed why. paiN used it in their previous match along with Malphite to completely just shut down Vayne.
It's something that we've actually been seeing. I think paiN also did earlier in the day. They ran a Malphite top as well as Nocturne in the jungle. Did practically the identical job. They picked the target, they flung themselves at the target, and they managed to take it out. Albeit not always as cleanly as that sounds, but the objective was there.
They target the highest priority of their enemies, whoever's playing the best. It could be the AD carry, or it even could be the Zed player. Vi is one of the few champions that can actually lock down Zed very early.
So two things I want to highlight. First and foremost, for Lyon Gaming, they've locked in that Nunu as well as Sona. And over on the side of paiN, that was an insta-lock Draven. There was not a moment's hesitation. BRTT, he is most well-known and most famous for his Draven back in Brazil. And I want to draw some comparisons. He's basically the Ocelot of Brazil in terms of his streaming prowess, the fan base behind him. He's got his own clothing line, and he's playing his signature champion right now.
A lot of the very strong Draven players sort of dropped Draven after the rework to his passive, because you lose so much early game threat from not having the bleed. But his love of Draven is stronger than the change in the passive here, and he is not going to give up. Them being secured in their first spot also opens up paiN to more of these picks of just champions that they enjoy playing. So he does get a chance here to go back to his favorite.
Yeah, and talking about some of the other champions that we see, with that Lee Sin being locked in, if the Vi's in the jungle, that's going to be a top or a mid lane Lee Sin. So we'll have to see as and where paiN decide to throw that one around. Wrapping up the Lyon Gaming composition, we do see the Varus and Kennen as their last two picks. So that's a lot of AoE, damage, CC, everything.
They just got the wrong end of that CC stick in the last game, so they've decided we are not going to get controlled this time around. We're going to bring as much to the team fight as we possibly can. Then they've got Zed, all damage. So they're looking to just burst down one person with that Zed and then control the team fight with the rest of their team here. They can actually have a split push where they go a 4-1 push, have Zed on a side lane because he's such a good duelist and he's so slippery, he can get away fairly easily from anyone besides Vi. And they have Nunu with the rest of their the 4 squad there, which is great disengage, and they can get away from most things with that.
So talking about the amount of control and CC that Lyon Gaming can put into place, there's a significant amount of area control and counter engage from that Anivia and that Zyra. Surely that's going to cause the Brazilians some headaches.
So They do have the pretty much guaranteed engage that is Vi. She can get to whatever target she wants. The problem for her is sticking to that target. She doesn't have much follow-up, and there's not a lot of dive buddy potential here on the Brazilian team. They've got Lee Sin who can sort of come in, so they can combo that the ultimate from Vi into a Lee Sin kickback and pick out a target and then kick that one target back into their team if they really want to, and then that's pretty much all of the control that they have.
So what is the flying speed on Lee Sin's safeguard in his W? Could he safeguard to a Vi that's flying through the air with assault and battery and travel the distance? This is something I'd love to see. What's the maximum distance you could fly?
Lee Sin travels a bit quicker than Vi travels using her ulti, so he would have to time his safeguard with about Vi ultimate that's about halfway through casting here.
I think if they don't pull this off, I'm going to be sorely disappointed, because that is a combo that's almost as awesome as the Vi Caitlyn ultimate combos that Jack was talking about a little bit earlier. We are, of course, into the match. We are in-game right now. It is Lyon in the blue trunks on the left-hand side of your screen, taking on paiN in the red trunks on the right-hand side of your screen. Early game, both teams stacking up towards this bottom half of the map, and we may see some headbutting.
Some headbutting or some back padding as if Nunu runs into anybody. Always a fan of that animation. It looks so comfy just to get a nice pat on the back from that Nunu.
Well, we'll have to see how much damage it can deal, as all of paiN have managed to get themselves into this back bush on the back of the red buff.
Oh, Nunu got a peek there.
A little bit of focus from paiN. They managed to get a deep ward down, but Lyon had a ward there themselves, so they're well aware of the vision, and that auto attack will let paiN know that they're fully aware of the position. And this is something we see very, very often from LCS teams. A 5-man almost bully just to get some early vision.
They did get some very deep wards on that red side, so it means that they want to keep track of Nunu early, and they don't want to fall victim to that heavy counter jungling potential that he has. And it looks like with a red start here from Lyon, they're going to get their wish.
So we'll have to see how well paiN handle and control Hacker V2's Nunu, because one of the things that we do see from strong Nunu players is that heavy, heavy counter jungling focus. And of course, thanks to having Smite and Consume, it is very difficult to maintain full control of your buffs against those invades. But for the time being, Lyon, they simply don't have any vision past the entrances to their jungle. Very defensive posture for their early game.
And they actually have Lee Sin, or Vi staying with Lee Sin for a very long time to get him a very strong leash on this blue. So he'll stay fairly high health in the jungle and go over to take his red without too many problems. And Vi didn't lose out much there as they've switched it up. It's not going to be a jungle Vi that you were expecting. She'll have an okay time in the duo lane, just trying to soak up experience until she can get level 6 and then pull off that gank with Lee Sin in the lane, because they'll be able to immediately get to Varus, who has no innate escape of his own. He'll have to rely on that flash to get away. Nor
does that super squishy Sona, so whoever gets collapsed upon by paiN Gaming could be in serious trouble of giving up some kills. Now at 3 minutes on the clock, that Seiya and Nezul have managed to make it all the way to this tower, landing some auto attacks down, but remember this is 3.10, so those towers a little bit stronger. They've got a nice stack of armor which will start decaying from 4 minutes onwards.
Another sort of side effect of that extra armor is that a lot of the times the AD and support will go for harass instead of those tower hits now. So the single person in that lane, which is Vi at this moment, is going to be under a lot more pressure.
Talking about how many numbers there are on the lane, you can see that Sir T is slowly making his way down that bottom lane, trying to get closer and closer to Venom. And you can see both junglers now, instead of going for the 3v1 tower push, they have opted for the 2v2 babysit, as it were, trying to just cover and really help out their solo laners from taking too much harass and too much damage too early on.
And Kennen, being ranged, is going to have a bit easier of a time landing those extra CS here under the turret as he slowly pulls ahead of Vi. And he actually operates fairly well on low farm. The main item that they're going to be looking for is going to be that Zhonya's Hourglass.
Yeah, and of course the inherent synergy between Nunu's Blood Boil and Kennen's auto attacks, along with his stacking those Marks of the Storm, it can definitely work out for you. You know, we're talking about the counter jungling of Nunu and the power he offers. It's actually Sir T who's the first team player to cross the river and steal some.
So he actually benefited a lot from the junglers both going to the lanes to shore up them. As they make a rotation up top here, Nunu does have his blood boil, so he's going to get in range, and they burn the flash already.
Insta flash from Espeon. He manages to get the grasping reach down, but here comes Zed. First blood secured, and Zyra just got pulled out like a weed.
And he didn't even pop the red elixir there. Zed was confident enough in his damage that he still has that one in his back pocket. So we could see that same amount of burst damage, that combo, headed toward Cammy, who does not have extra armor, started with only that 27, and just because the levels up to 43.
So we do see that paiN took advantage of that and put some tower damage in the mid lane. However, Sir T is able to completely out-duel the same level Zed being played by Uri in the jungle, who of course did have that red buff to help him out.
Oh, nice wall to get him vision here, and he goes for the dive! Cammy with amazing play. What he did there is start off with the wall to get vision and then landed the Q.
So manages to get the stun, picks up a kill for Uri. Now all of a sudden, Hacker V2's in a little bit of trouble. Here comes Porky from the top lane as Sir T continues to land the damage, manages to use that safeguard and jumps out of range, getting to Kami and managing to make your way out cleanly.
Beautiful play right there. That's why Cammy's got so much hype coming into this game.
A very, very good play. Picks up paiN Gaming's first kill on a level 5 inner turret tower dive, effectively. It did cost him his passive, though, so there'll be no egg or rebirth available. Down in this bottom lane, Venom is just taking a massive amount of poke from Saya. He manages to get those Blighted Quiver stacks, and 6 minutes in, the tower is still standing. However, that tower is very low. Kami forced backwards, and once again, Crystallized Wall actually being used effectively.
And it doesn't look like Venom's going to be able to stay in that lane to hit that level 6 mark that they need to pull off the gank. Meanwhile, Lyon does come mid to just help out.
Covers the lane, grabs some experience, grabs some gold, manages to at least keep Kami alive for a little bit, but Uri, of course, he burned his flash in that previous fight. Needs to be very, very wary of those stuns coming down from Anivia. The first tower of the game does fall in favor of Lyon, so they've got the early advantage. They picked up first blood, they've got the first tower. You have to wonder if they can keep picking up this first. They may be thinking about a dragon.
And we're going to have Cammy being a bit more careful in this mid lane without his passive, because Zed is about to hit level 6, and like we said, did not even pop that red elixir. It's a very easy target, a passiveless Anivia without building armor. Extremely vulnerable to the all-in here from Zed, so once he has now hit level 6, he's just going to be looking for that combo onto Anivia to burst him down.
And it's going to be made a little, maybe more difficult, because of course Lyon have moved up Saya to this mid lane.
Ooh, they're looking to catch him on the way back from the blue buff.
This is a level 5 Nazul, gets the vision down, or he's looking to jump on them, but unfortunately no crescendo available, no ultimate there, and instead Lyon Gaming now stacked the numbers up as they focus down this mid tower. Here comes Hacker V2 from the side with that blood boil as well.
So close right there. You can tell Uri was itching to pull off the combo onto Cammy. Now that he's got the blue buff, even wants to make the dive that much more. They're going to rotate down to Dragon here because they just saw Lee Sin rotate over to the red side jungle.
And of course, with the numbers advantage and the vision advantage in their favor, this Dragon will be secured without any form of contention here from paiN Gaming. Lyon extend that gold lead just ever so slightly forward. For the time being, they're doing very, very well. The CS numbers have suffered a little bit in that mid lane. As you can see, Uri has fallen about 20-odd creeps behind Kami. That is, of course, thanks to his death and thanks to the fact that he's left the lane to pick up that dragon. So, not big numbers right now. 3-man stack for paiN Gaming's up in the top lane. Porky's going to think about defending this one. He's got that Seeker's Arm Guard tool. He's blocked some of Draven's damage. It's not really going to be enough if you dive in against 3.
Now, Draven's new passive, he gets stacks of adoration every time he's going to catch one of these axes or kills a minion. And he's only up to 19 right now, but he will be cashing those in when he does grab his first kill. So look out for him to make a large purchase after that first kill.
And it could be pretty soon as they throw out the Whirling Death. Porky manages to sidestep the secondary proc of damage, but over on the right-hand side in the river, Sir T is hanging out. doing a little dance and just waiting for somebody to overextend. Dragon's Rage kick is up and available, as is a ward in his inventory, so we could see some of those safeguard to a ward kick backwards maneuvers. Combo that with the crowd control of Zyra, and that is scary. But for the time being, Lyon are not overextending. They are not at risk of being caught out.
Yeah, well, they have to be careful when playing with that Zed, because like we said, he's level 6 with a red elixir and ignite available. Pretty much everybody on the map is vulnerable to that burst damage.
We'll have to see where he decides to put his focus, because he's falling further behind in the CS numbers. Now approaching 30, as Uri is basically roaming more than he is sticking into a single lane. And it is hurting him a little bit in that regard.
Yeah, and Kami's happy to just farm up both his lane and the Wraiths now that he does have blue buff. And he's also purchased a tier, so he's just waiting for that tier to stack up and farm up into the late game.
You can even see him hiding around the corner. They're just out of vision. So if Uri had come within melee range to pick up some last hits, he could have landed the stun, got a combo down, and basically just kept Zed playing more defensively. You never want to be in a disadvantageous position as far as HP is concerned against that incredibly powerful assassin. Lyon Gaming now, with that bottom tower down, we've seen Seiya, he rotated mid, he pushed towards the dragon, and now is returned to this bottom lane. So we're still seeing that sort of straight head-to-head matchup now that the paiN Gaming has moved from the top lane down.
And it makes that head-to-head a little bit more scary for Lyon here. They've got the turret down, but they haven't been able to cover the area with wards. We've had a very good job here done by Esperon to clear out all of the wards of Lyon, and so it's sort of forcing them to retreat, and they can't continue to apply the pressure in that bottom lane.
We'll have to see how well they can take advantage of that tower being down, because for the time being, both of these teams are content to farm. Both of these teams are happy to play this a little passively. The farm numbers are actually quite a lot lower than what we have been seeing out of many other teams during the course of the Wildcard group stage. And in particular, those top laners who had to deal with very difficult 2v1 situations, paiN and Ven, and they're now sort of matching up straight head-to-head. As you can see, Sir T hanging around this top lane. paiN could be in trouble. Yeah,
Vi is an amazing champion at setting up lane ganks because she does have the guaranteed ultimate, as we see her go in right now.
So we'll see if the kick lands. paiN does manage to flash backwards. Sir T actually kicks paiN to safety as that slicing maelstrom is down. Fortunately, not managing to combo and kick him in the backwards direction, which would have allowed paiN to pick up the kill.
Well, it was definitely very dangerous right there. He didn't want to get stunned under the tower, the turret locked up by any more charges of that slicing maelstrom.
We do see Sir T's caught out a little bit. He's decided to go head-to-head. Ice Blast comes down, finally flashes over the wall. Lightning Shuriken from paiN comes out, not going to be able to pick up the kill. And, Hakabi2 actually used his absolute zero for that one. Got a fair amount of damage down.
Not too worried about that cooldown though. Nunu very early, usually using that actually just to farm minion waves and such. So the good answer there with getting the flash back after they forced one out of paiN.
Works in their favor. So paiN Gaming right now trying to find an opportunity. They're trying to make something happen. They've got no towers in the game. They've been rotating a fair amount. They haven't really been able to find a window in. Finally, they have managed to catch Sona. A lot of damage going down, but we see the Stranglethorns finally coming out. A little too late from Espeon. Yuri was thinking about jumping in there with that death mark available. He does have the Cutlass as well, so that burst damage combo is going to be higher. Lyon Gaming have been able to brute force paiN away, and that piercing arrow shreds through the HP bars of paiN.
And neither of the top laners have teleport, so that was going to be a straight up 4 versus 4. But because of the harass, the long range harass there from Varus, paiN going to back out of even their own jungle.
And we do see that Lyon, once again, they have the first big buff steal. They managed to secure it in the mid lane. We do see that 3 members of Lyon now turning their attention back into this tower. However, there's no AD carry with them, so the melee Nunu and the melee Zed, a little bit unsafe to be bashing away into that tower.
And they're a little bit safer because of that blue steal on Anivia. That's one of the huge points for Lyon during the mid stages of this game. At any point they can deny the blue buff from her, it delays the stacking of her tier and hurts her wave clear a lot. So it makes it much harder for him to go from lane to race and back to lane again. You can see he's gone out of mana just on that last Wraith camp.
We'll have to see how effectively kami can deal with the fact that he does not have that blue buff available as it stands. Or he does get caught by the Sonic Wave. We see the safeguard to our ward. Grasping Roots goes up, and just go in the wrong direction. And paiN, they pick up what looks to be a very easy kill.
Yeah, great snag right there. Able to use the combo, the shockwave, or the Sonic Wave into that ward jump with his safeguard, and the rest of paiN was able to answer. Kami doesn't even need that mana.
So for the first big objective of the game, paiN Gaming are now turning their attention to Dragon. In the course of the last couple of minutes, they did manage to secure the top tower as well. So this will make it 1 Dragon apiece as far as the teams are concerned. paiN Gaming all of a sudden grab themselves a 600 gold lead. They haven't really been looking for fights. paiN they really just want to farm is the signals we're currently getting.
Yeah, except for that last pick right there, which, you know, Sir T just made that look so effortless. It kind of was, oh, let's, you know, kill mid and go into get a free dragon after that. Yeah, sounds like a good plan, guys. I don't have any mana, but it doesn't matter. Great pick from Lee Sin. Turns out it's an objective, not just a solo kill. So very, very well spent time. Yeah,
and great, you know, great presence and knowledge of the map, knowing that Dragon was up, knowing that if they found that pick, if they found that kill, they would be able to roll straight down to that Dragon and pick it up easier or uncontested as it was in case. Right now, Hacker B2, Absolute Zero gets channeled. Red buff is still up and ticking. A very nice crystallized wall leads into a Grasping Roots from down low. Espeon is actually going to land the last hit there thanks to one of those little weed tower turret things. Another kill for paiN.
Counter jungling is definitely a team exercise that you need to pull off. It's not a solo mission here. And even Nunu, one of the kings of counter jungling there, gets caught and didn't have an answer to get out. There were too many members of paiN, a great collapse by them, and great support from the rest of Sir T's team.
Yeah, and you have to highlight the crystallized walls that's come out of Kami so far. They've basically secured him his first kill. It's saved his life in mid. It's set up yet another kill. They got the flash out of Nunu, which, you know, if Nunu was able to run through the space where the wall was, he could have flashed over the Baron Pit, for example. So, very good play. Here's actually a replay of the fight.
And Sir T is not going to let anybody come into his jungle like this and get away scot-free. Great crystallize, like you just pointed out, there from Kami. This is one of the reasons why everybody's on the Kami hype train.
Oh, we do see now as we jump back in, Porky's been slammed into the ground. Whirling Death comes from downtown, manages to actually catch him out. Slicing Maelstrom stuns up both Venom and Sir T. And Porky gets away, but it's not over, as in the mid lane, Ori manages to pick up the first kill of the game, second kill of the game onto BRTT. They continue focusing down, and they managed to pick off Espeon as well. And that was a lot of ultimates used.
He's not done yet either. They're looking to chase. We finally did get to see that burst from Zed that we've been waiting for so long. Pop the red elixir there, and he also has Blade of the Rune King now, so he can get the double damage out of that activation, applying it after the death mark.
Very, very late in the game to use that red elixir, considering he did start with it. We do see that Seiya does get caught up by that Sonic Wave, but Lee Sin decides not to chase up. They're going to carry on focusing. Kami's very, very low. He's going to get popped into egg form very, very shortly. Dragon's Rage kick kicks Sona away. Now Seiya is forced out of the fight. Kami has been rebirthed. He's coming back to life. As you can see, Venom gets almost to safety before getting dropped down. Now Sir T's in trouble. Ignites, ticking away on Seiya. He gets lifesteal onto the Wraith Camp as Kami gets focused and taken down by Porky through the Baron Pit wall. And another team fight win here for Lyon Gaming, picking up 3 unreturned kills.
And the Lions come roaring back here. Hacker V able to egg Kami and then just leave him in that rebirth form and go back to help his team. He helped peel. That's exactly what Nunu has to do. Come and apply the snowball and the speed buff there, allowing the rest of his team to then clean up with the rest of the kills.
So they managed to get more kills on the board. They managed to secure the top lane tower as well. So once again, swinging that gold value in favor of Lyon Gaming. And a very, very important item has been secured. That's Zhonya's Hourglass for Porky's Cannon. So that's definitely going to help him survive in these team fights, as you can see, maybe happening shortly. Porky gets caught out. Assault and Battery is available for Venom. He's waiting for the Lightning Rush. Does manage to slam him down into the ground. Now the Hourglass is available. Porky flashes over the wall, fully respecting it's not over yet. Venom chooses the Vault Breaker to try close the gap. Does not have his flashlight.
They're going to keep chasing.
He's going to carry on chasing. Sir T does have wards available. Gonna jump forward. Tempest is going to close it out and almost escape from Porky.
Sir T doesn't let him get away though. Comes and passes him on the inside. Now Cammy's in trouble. Rebirth's still not back up.
Not available. SP on super low. It's not over as Uri picks up 2 kills back to back and a tower, managing to bounce back from losing Porky in the top lane.
Great job by Lyon there, not going to waste time and back up Porky. They used the opportunity with 3 members of paiN showing top to capitalize on the other side of the map.
Well played by them. They managed to secure the 3rd tower of the game. They're going to steal their 2nd blue buff consecutively. The previous blue buff, they managed to pick that up after a bit of combat and contention from paiN. But once again, another blue buff denied from Cammy. It's so difficult to play without any form of mana regen. As it stands, it's just the Needlessly Large Rod, the Haunting Guys, and the Tear of the Goddess for Cammy. So he's got no regen once he's spent a lot of that very large mana pool.
Well, the Tear gives him a bit of regen along with the ring, but it's not nearly enough. Anivia's such a mana-hungry champion. The other thing that he doesn't have anything of are defenses. He has nothing to protect him from the combo of Uri. He doesn't have any armor built up. It looks like he'll probably be opting to turn into a Zhonya's with that Needlessly Large Rod, which would be a good answer for the Death Mark.
Oh, Chain of Corruption goes down. BRTT's caught out. He's very, very low. Throws out that Whirling Death. His HP gets chunked by the
barrier.
The barrier keeps him up. A crescendo locks up both Vernon and Sir T under the tower. Now Nuzul's chasing Lee Sin away. Porky joins the fight. Slicing Maelstrom is up. We do see that BRTT still alive. Finally gets chopped in the background. Zhonya's Hourglass was not used by Porky. Another double kill for Uri as he manages to pick himself to 6, 2, and 3. That was a 2-for-4 trade.
Ooh, couldn't get the Hourglass off in time, but still a huge win for Lyon. They're gonna retain control of the map and be able to pick up the dragon after that. It's always about the objectives after the kills. The combo of the crowd control right here, that corruption spreads to 4 members, and even though they don't get him with his initial snowball, that crescendo coming in bought them enough time and the 2 kills for Uri to come in and decimate the rest of paiN. You can see he even goes right past Cammy, leaving the Death Mark to finish it up and grabs 2 more kills.
The very good knowledge and understanding of the damage that you will deal to the specific targets he's focusing down. Zed, with that Brutalizer now completed, is getting scarier and scarier against what is actually a very squishy paiN Gaming team. He should, in theory, be able to blow up, or at least egg, basically anybody he wants to at this stage. Even Vi has gone DPS. There's no tanky items on her just yet.
Yeah, that flat penetration from the Brutalizer is going to be extremely effective against this paiN team, and he just straight up bought a Last Whisper, even though nobody's really building armor. There's 1 Ninja Tabby over there. So they're going to be taking close to true damage after all of that penetration from Zed.
We'll have to see how effective that Death Mark becomes. The one thing that Porky's going to need to keep a bit of a trigger finger on is that Zhonya's Hourglass, because he's given up the bacon a couple too many times when he could have saved himself.
Active on items are often messed up by many people there. We have a nice Crystallize again from Cammy, but that is Hacker's job to soak up the damage.
We'll see how this siege works out for Lyon. They've got a 4-man stack, 5-man stack in the mid lane. Piercing Arrow is just melting through the paiN Gaming rosters as Piercing Arrows are chunking thanks to that Last Whisper and fully stacked Bloodthirster. The tower is getting dropped down and there's a lot of physical damage. You combine that with the Blood Boil onto Saya's Varus, and those towers are not going to last long. It's not over yet. Saya's actually got the blue buff, so he's going to be spamming those Qs all day long.
And they've got the regen from Sona, so they're actually going to be able to siege up extremely well here. There's no blue buff on Cammy right now, though he is coming with home guards. So every time he goes back to the fountain, he'll get immediately restored and have that huge speed buff. So it's very hard to get through the wave clear of an Anivia. Even without blue buff, home guards do a very similar thing when you're at the inhibitor turrets.
So BRTT forced to use that Whirling Death just to clear out the wave. And remember that as he's playing Draven, that attack range is very, very short. So if he ever wants to get into a team fight situation, the immense amount of crowd control that he has to deal with from Lyon Gaming is going to give him a lot of headaches. Lyon, however, realized Inhibitor Tower is a little bit ambitious. They've decided to roll down to this bottom lane, and they should be able to pick this one up.
This is going to be a 5-on-5, though. We have Sir T coming in from the side and dueling with Porky. He can't quite get to the rest of his team, and they're doing a good job buying time at this turret to get off a few hits.
So as it stands, the Chain of Corruption goes out. That is busy spreading to everybody. Venom dive forward. Assault and Battery has been used. Seiya is still alive. First victim of the fight is Venom, but the tower is still standing. He dove forward. Oh, the piercing arrow manages to egg Kami. It's not over yet, as now Porky's thinking about going in. Kami continues to lose HP. Slicing Maelstrom goes out once again. No Zhonya's Hourglass has been used. Varus managed to secure himself a double kill before losing his support, Ner'zhul, and BRTT tries to chase them away. The Deathmark comes down. This is going to be him being popped by Uri's Deathmark.
Uri claims another one there, and that all is the reason why people don't build full DPS Vi that often, because she can, yes, get to any target that she wants, but she's going to get focused by the entire team here. So this is already after. Okay, here comes Vi. She's able to get to her target, and nobody's able to follow up because they don't have the gap closers. And this fight continues with a 4 versus 5. Plenty of good poke going on here, but the turret is also adding free shots, and Kennen getting kicked back right there, able to finish him off before the Slicing Maelstrom can lock anyone down. Another nice Crystallize from Cammy finishes it off.
I'm going to give mad props there to Sir T, because his reactions and reflexes in that particular dive kick were particularly impressive. Once again, though, Zhonya's Hourglass by Porky not being used. I think he's still underestimating the level of burst and damage that's going to come out of this very damage-heavy team of paiN, because that's twice now in a row that he's just been removed.
The paiN team looks like they were trying to have a little bit more fun with this one after they've secured that first spot. But you have to give props to Lyon. We may be in that situation where, yes, this is their last game and they can't get back into the tournament, but they're making a very strong showing.
Well, we'll have to see how the decision-making works out here, because Lyon, they seem to be moving towards the Baron pit. They've started this
a good trade.
And they've left off paiN Gaming to take the outer turret. The question is, how quickly can paiN push this wave down? They've got a lot of auto-attackers if they can get them onto the turrets.
It's all going to be looking for the home guards here, too. Level 1 boots still on Zed means he can't buy that without first upgrading them. And it's going to be hard-pressed for the rest of Lyon to get back and defend this inhibitor turret.
So Sir T is actually going to tank up the turret for a couple of hits. Ner'zhul is the first one to get in range to try and defend it up. Crescendo is available, as is his flash. Crystallized Wall comes down. 2 towers for Baron. And Lyon already have a 10,000 gold lead. Advantage Lyon?
Yeah, definitely advantage Lyon. Now they can... Oh no, the push gank!
The Crescendo does not come down. The Whirling Death flies across members of Lyon. paiN pick up 1 kill before losing 2. Now once again, Porky is dropped, but he got the Zhonya's off this time round. Deathmark comes out while Piercing Arrow finishes off SPN's Varus. It's not over yet as Uri and Hacker V2 continue to try and chase down the bird. Blood Boil is up. Their movement speed is high, and they're going to carry on chasing. I don't think they can catch Kami.
Anivia is one of the slowest champions in the game, though, and even though he's got level 2 boots, they could continue the chase. They just don't have vision of him.
But we do see Kami manages to make it away. They haven't given up yet. If Kami stops to farm up the wolf camp, he may be in trouble. But luckily for him, Lyon Gaming have decided to back away, and that death bush backfired immensely. They secured 2 kills but lost 4, and this is what it looked like from Lyon Gaming's point of view.
Oh, he gets about 0 seconds there to react, completely bursted down. Looked great there from paiN, but they ended out on the losing end because Zed, although it's still 3v3, he's got his ulti, and he can pop 2 people at once right there with the AoE.
And Seiya wasn't even touched. There was absolutely 0 damage that had been landed onto Seiya's Varus. And, you know, he's sitting at 6, 1, and 11 right now. We do see they've caught out SPL. Hey, Barrows comes down and That's a hail of tears from Espeon.
Another support bites the dust, and that is going to be the win that Lyon need to pressure the top turret here.
Well, we'll see if they decide to do that, because for the time being, they seem to be pretty content finding kills. They have stacked up the numbers. You can see that there's also Sona's hanging out on the side. Does get stunned up and is actually going to potentially get dropped. That's a flash crescendo over the wall. Serti has managed to make it away. Absolute Zero been used just for zone control. Dragon's Rage kick goes out as they've locked down Venom. Hail of Barrows is going to be a lot of damage down as Saya does get locked up for a brief second or two thanks to that assault and battery, but another kill in favor of Lyon. His piercing arrows are shredding through everybody, and Nazul gets away thanks to a defensive flash crescendo.
It was a good pick there by Lyon, and they didn't even make the call for Zed to stop split pushing and join the rest of the team. That kill was pulled off just by the four-man team alone. Flash crescendos usually see the flash forward and crescendo, but that was a very nice defensive flash crescendo.
And thanks to Zed split pushing, this is going to be 2 inhibitors secured simultaneously. It's going to give Lyon Gaming an 8-3 kill lead, and paiN are now 15,000 gold behind. This is the #1 seed of the International Wildcard Tournament. Their spot is confirmed, but Lyon Gaming, who are sitting in 5th position from Mexico, have put up a hell of a fight in this match.
Yeah, congratulations. You know, Lyon Gaming put up a really great showing here, but it's just too little too late, and they won't be able to get back into the tourney.
So we'll have to see how and if they can close this one out. Sometimes closing the game can be the most difficult, even with 2 super inhibitors, but realistically, it is just a matter of time. Venom and Serti looking to see if they can find a kill on Uri, but it's going to be made exponentially more difficult. Not only is he 9-2-7, one of the most farmed in the game, but he's got that Guardian Angel completed as well. So that extra lease on life to come back to that super slippery ninja.
It took him a long time to pop his first red elixir and go for it, but once he did that and he got a taste of blood, he really liked it, and he kept on getting kills all game long. Some great rotations by him, really nice roaming picks.
And something that I really want to highlight that Lyon have done exceptionally well in this particular game is that blue buff control. That was the 3rd or the 4th steal that they've had over the course of the last 4 or 5. Bar for that very first one, they've really been able to challenge and prevent Kami actually getting his hands on that particular buff.
30 minutes into the game, and it's only at 550, his tier stack. So it's going to be quite a long time until he gets that Seraph's Embrace upgrade.
Yeah, and unfortunately it may be too little too late. Now, Uri is split pushing in that mid lane. There are super minions aiding him, getting closer to those Nexus turrets. He may decide to come in from the side here. We've seen Saya's Chain of Corruption being a key as far as those initiations are concerned, and we'll see if that is the key to this tower dive.
Oh, here we go. Do we have the seat? Oh, Vi goes in.
They managed to kick Saya backwards, but Venom and Serti just get melted by the damage. paiN Gaming have lost 2 of their members already as Kami gets egged under the tower. He does manage to pick up a kill onto Saya before going down, however. Now that he's dropped, they turn their focus over to BRTT. Zonya's Hourglass goes down. That's going to keep Porky alive for a little while longer. And the passive of Zyra not available yet because he's still alive. It was the plants that were dealing damage.
I didn't even have time to say see ya. He was already gone right there. And you can see it's been paiN's playstyle the entire tournament, is just find their priority target and dive him. Mission accomplished. At least they took down Varus.
They got their focus, and I guess if that was the objective, maybe they are the winners in that one. However, the victory is Lyon Gaming. They managed to pick up a pretty one-sided win against the Brazilians. And, you know, unfortunately, they do finish the series 1 and 3 in the group stage. They are tied with Dark Passage, and thanks to their loss, they placed 5th. But congratulations on a well-earned victory.
Always nice to at least end on a win there.
And we do see that that is the last game on Stream A as far as the international